Hey everyone, my name is Rick Gualtieri, and this is Tales of a Midlist Author. Back with a slightly more advanced topic, slash also a bit of a follow-up to an earlier chapter I did, which I talked about Twitter and more specifically Facebook pages. Well, since then, if you've created a Facebook page, a Facebook author page, you've probably noticed that there can be a little bit of frustration with them, and this is primarily because Facebook doesn't care how many people like your page as much as how many people engage with your page. But the thing is, even a page with high engagement, you're still at best maybe with a popular post going to reach 50% of your crowd because it's just the way Facebook works. Unless you boost that post, in which case you're paying for it, which is primarily kind of what Facebook wants you to do. Um, so they've kind of played around with their rules there in the past, so that a lot of people they get frustrated because they're like, oh, I have so many likes, but nobody ever actually posts or actually sees my stuff. Well, once again, Facebook doesn't care about those warm bodies. They care about the engagement. And if you have low engagement, well, there's not much you can do about it. Moving to a group kind of changes that. By default, when you join a group, you pretty much are bombarded with everything going on in that group. Depending on how big or active the group is, you have to kind of purposely tell it, no, I don't want to see everything. No, or I only want to see what my friends post. But by default, you're kind of seeing everything. So it's a little bit different. I'm kind of the reverse of a page. Here, let me take off these glasses. I kind of get a bit of a glare from the monitor in them. Now, Facebook could easily change that, down the road, but at the moment, that seems to be the case. Um, so the upside of moving to a group is that, you might get a small subset of the people who are your fans on a page. So if you have, say, 10,000 people on a page and only 1,000 move over to that group, well, you might be bummed at first, like, oh man, that sucks. But that kind of tells you a little bit about it. You're moving your engaged fans from your page, where maybe you post once a day, once every other day, once a week or so, to a group where, in theory, it should be a lot more active and there should be a lot more engagement. That said, what I just said kind of holds true. Whereas you can get away with a page updating it pretty infrequently, a group has to be kind of continually moving. Otherwise it kind of dies and stagnates quickly. Posting once a day, your hey, I'm still writing update in a group. On a page is fine. In a group, well, one, that's boring, and two, you're probably going to be able to see people be like, okay, I don't care anymore about that either. Um, Engagement is good, but you still have to be kind of interesting. So that being said, you should actually, before you create a group, you should look at a couple of things. Like one, do I have an audience to support it? If you've just written one book and 3 people have bought it, you might not be ready for a group. But this is kind of, I guess, a slightly advanced topic. So I'm assuming you have some books out there and you have at least a moderate sized audience. Um, you just decide what the focus of your group is on. Um, you know, is it just going to be you talking about your books? Some authors do that, and hey, that's fine. Or is it going to be a wider gamut? Are you going to try to engage people more? And engagement is key because um, I think that's a key thing, because if I just talk about my stuff, okay, that's fine. Maybe a few people, the people who read my books are interested. But if I talk about a wide gamut of stuff, well, more people might be willing to look into it. So think about what your what your focus is, and that will kind of help you name your group and start it out. And I think there's kind of 3 levels there. There's kind of you, the author. For example, my group is Rick Gualtieri Books. Plug. Um, but I purpose in up front, I kind of tell people, hey, it's not just about me. Feel free to to talk about other books, other authors, geek stuff. It's all cool. But I put my name up there. Other people, they kind of focus on a series. Shane Silvers, who writes the Nate Temple series, he has a very popular group out there that's primarily that's from the title is about his Nate Temple characters. If you care to check it out, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. It's not just about that, but that's kind of his focus. Rather than necessarily the focus on him, he put the focus on his characters, his series. You can take it a step further and make it about genre. It's like, forget about Rick Gualtieri, forget about Toma Bill. This is the Urban Fantasy Fans page. Now, the downside there is people are going to probably join and talk about things that have nothing to do with your stuff. Well, oh well, But you also have a shot of bringing in a much wider base. And that wider base, since it's your group, you can still occasionally throw out things like, hey guys, I have a new release, I am an author, this is kind of related to this stuff we're talking about, if you're interested. Some authors have done that very successfully. They're very savvy about being able to slide in there that they're an author without making it all about them. A couple things before you set up a group. Think about the rules. I have a couple rules in mind. It's relatively loose. I tell people up front, this group is R-rated. I don't want to be. You can bring your kids in, but they're not my problem. There's going to be cursing and stuff. No politics. If you mention politics, it gets deleted. I don't care what side you're on. And don't spam. That's pretty much it. Everything else kind of goes, so people can post raunchy humor, have fun, discuss stupid things if they enjoy it. I'll post about my stuff. I do let discussions about other books happen there. I'm pretty cool with that. When I say no spam, I pretty much mean no drive-by spam. If I have authors in there, I do allow them to post about things and their new releases and such, as long as they're engaged with the crowd. So I try to maintain that. Other thoughts there are as you grow, as your group hopefully grows, past 100 to 500 to 1,000, thinking about moderators, because sometimes once you get past about 500 people, it's really hard to keep track of what's going on, and some things might slip by that even Facebook won't show you. So that's another concept to think about down the road. But these are the reasons to start a group. Now, that might sound daunting. So what I might recommend first is check out some other authors who have done this. And that'll be kind of so let's talk about that. Is what do you do when you join another author group? Now, typically there's two author groups I'm going to join. If one, either I'm a fan of them. There's some authors who I like reading their stuff. Hell, I'm going to see what they're doing. And two, there's some authors I'm just friends with and I like to support them. So the first part of this was talking about why to set up a group. Now let's talk about a little bit of etiquette when you join a group. So if I say, for example, I joined Joe Blow Books, where it's talking about his stuff. First things first is look for a rules post. And if you set up a group, you probably should do a pinned post that says, here are the rules of my group. Not a bad idea, so people know up front. One, read the rules of that group, and follow them. They're there for a reason. Two, lurk for a little bit and get a sense of the feel, what's going on there, what are they talking about? And three, once you get a sense for it, engage in a way that's not all about you. As I mentioned before, spamming. The worst thing you can possibly do is join another author's group and immediately be like, oh, hey, I'm an author, and here, buy my shit. That's a really good way to, one, tick off the people in the group, and two, get your ass booted out really quickly, because no. Worst case scenario, I would say, is if you do have a new release and this group is really is just perfect to announce it to, and you've been engaged with the group for a while, is reach out to the author and ask, hey, I have a new release, would you mind if I post this? One, worst they can say is no, in which case, oh well. But two, chances are they'll appreciate you asking before spamming. A lot of people will say, oh, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. No. And with regards to Facebook groups, you're basically, walking onto somebody's lawn, unzipping and taking a piss on it. And at that point, you can say sorry, but they've already deleted your post and blocked you. And once your post is deleted, guess what? Nobody's seeing it. So ask permission before you go stomping in there. And that's really to kind of get some ideas for because here's also the thing. And I don't fault anybody who does this with my group. I don't think most authors fault any other authors who join in their groups. Is if I'm a fan of yours, hey, that's great. If I'm a friend of yours and I'm supporting you, that's also great. But let's be honest. I'm also probably keeping an eye out that if you do something cool, how can I swipe this and use it for myself? Hey, what's that phrase? Good artists create, great artists steal. And don't be surprised that if if you have a popular group, other people are doing that. Nothing wrong with that. what's that? Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. Um, don't be like, a selfish prick and be like, oh, how dare you like share this random post from a page that I shared, in my group. I would probably only get ticked if like, I came up with something really original, like, an original gag, and then somebody like completely like ripped it off without like, attribution or so. But that's also a cool thing, is that if you're in another group and you just see something cool and you decide to share it in your group, give some attribution. Say, hey, I found this on Joe Blow's like page, hey, go check them out. But like, here, it's kind of cool. So those are kind of like, the reasons that, like, one, why you would set up a group, once again, engagement, really connecting better with your fans and such. And that, it is a commitment. Once again, you can't really get away with a group the same way you can with a page, like, not posting anything. You have to decide what's in it. If it's just going to be you talking about like, your own stuff, you might want to consider that might not be the most interesting thing. But also, like, also there's an etiquette of joining other people's groups. Now, that said, what other author groups are out there? Well, there's a ton of groups by other authors, and I figured I'd mention a few of them, a few that I've seen out there that I think are pretty good examples. One, I would recommend reading their books, because these are all really cool people, and they do put out some good works there. Because at the end of the day, I could be the most interesting person on the planet, but if my books are shit, well, nobody's going to care. Check them out. Support them. Do not spam the crap out of them, because I guarantee they're not going to appreciate that, and then they're going to yell at me because I mentioned them, or it's like, hey, you sent a bunch of spammers our way. But these are good places to check out, join, engage, and just see how it's done. As I mentioned before, I have a group, Rick Gualtieri Books. Just go search it out. Join Team Twat Waffle, if you will. It's a good time. We have almost 1,000 people there, and it's a really engaged group. I already mentioned Shane Silvers and his Nate Temple group. That's another very popular and active group out there. Let's see here. Two of my fellow authors and Dragons authors, John Hartness and Robert Bevan. They both have pretty happening groups out there. Robert Bevan and and especially in mine, there's a lot of good crossover there, which is like, just jokes and such. The writing duo of Sia and Crawford, they have a very engaged group. They write urban fantasy. And there's a lot of stuff going on there. Same with, let's see here, Mackenzie Hunter. She's another awesome author out there, and she has a engaged group. I know she takes very good care of them. Let's see here. Annette Marie. She's kind of more, I guess, on the YA fantasy side, but again, like her stuff, she posts stuff there, and it's just like, wow, this is like like I'll just post stupid crap off the top of my head, and like her stuff is like well thought out. And like, if you're a romance fan, or like a romance reader or such, Frankie Love, her group is a really good one to check out. These are all really good examples. They're all like, authors who are really engaged with their fans, and they know how to like, treat people well. It's a good places to check out. But as I said, don't go there just hopping into spam, because otherwise that makes you a complete asshole. All right, well, that's about it for this Tales of a Midlist Author. Once again, something to look into. I can't promise that Facebook won't change the rules again, and like, in 6 months from now, we'll set up a group and it's no better than a page or so with regards to engagement. But right now, a page is good for getting fans and like, visibility. A group is kind of like that place you would set up for your super fans to really engage with you. So that you might say, hey, I have 10,000 likes, but I have 1,000 super fans who are just like there all the time. That's kind of cool. It's a good place to get to know people. Which at the end of the day, if you're in social media and you're not trying to be social, well, you're probably doing it wrong. All right. My name is Rick Gualtieri. This is Tales of a Midlist Author, and I hope to speak to you soon.